Whenever you're moving to a new area, one of the biggest things that you're probably considering is the cost of living. Can I actually afford to move there? So in today's video, we're going to be going over all of the cost of living for Niceville, Florida. Stay tuned.
I'm AJ, and this is
Andrew.
And we're realtors right here on the Emerald Coast with the Emerald Group. We're servicing everywhere between Pensacola and Panama City Beach, and we're doing videos all in between for you guys.
We'd like to thank all of our returning subscribers, and of course, anybody that's finding us for the first time. And if you are finding us for the first time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tap that little bell so that you'll be notified every single time we do a new video if you want to know everything there is to know about the Emerald Coast.
We have been getting calls, texts, Facebook messages, emails, and guys, we absolutely love it. Like we said before, we're realtors on the air in the area, and we just love hearing from you guys. Every time you give us a call, it's like, oh, it's like Christmas. Get it? Because today's Christmas Eve. So, of course, when you'll be watching this, it won't be anything that'll be done, but you get the point. So if you guys want to contact us as well, all of our contact information is on the screen. You're able to reach out to us any way that feels comfortable to you guys, and we can't wait to help you.
So when we're looking at moving into a new area, there are a lot of things to consider. You want to make sure that that area is going to fit your lifestyle, and more importantly, that you're going to be able to fit into the lifestyle of the area. There's nothing worse than moving to a new area and finding out that it is too expensive for you to live in, and you're, house poor, and you're barely able to make groceries and all of this great stuff wherever you came from was much easier to live in. So we're very fortunate here in our area that even though it is Florida, a lot of people think it's very expensive. We are actually hovering along the lines of at median price for the country or below in almost every city in our area, with a couple of few exceptions.
And when we talk about these median prices, we're talking about everything from house prices to groceries, utilities, entertainment, all of it across the board. So stick around. We're going to fill you in on every one of those nuances.
Make sure you stick around until the end because that's when we're going to go over housing, but we want to get everything else out of the way because we are realtors, so housing's kind of our specialty. We're going to spend a little bit of time on that because, of course, it's very important and a really big cost.
We all know that one of the biggest, kind of headaches whenever you're moving to another area is finding some reliable childcare, regardless whether you're working remotely or going into work. A lot of times you're going to need some help if you have some children, even if it's within the home. If you're trying to do some kind of outside of the home daycare type stuff, you're looking at about $800 per month in the Niceville area. Now, if you want someone to maybe come watch over your child while you're in the house, you're like me, you're going to be in and out, and you want somebody to help you with some flexibility and you can pay by the hour, you're looking at about $27 an hour for a good nanny. And yeah, it's a little pricey. It's not cheap. And that's without tips. So a lot of times if you want someone to continue to come out and to provide that great service, you're probably going to want to tip them on top of that.
Now, another thing that a lot of people are going to need covered if their employer does not cover it is healthcare. So here in this county, we're not able to pinpoint it down to just Niceville because it is county specific. You can expect an average of about $334 per month. Now, as far as what kind of coverage that's going to get you, I'm not 100% sure. Both AJ and I are covered by the VA, so we're very fortunate in that we don't need to add this expense to us, but it might have to be an expense that you might have to take care of.
Again, if you have children, it could be a bit more too. This is just...
Yep, actually with children, I think it was with 2 children, it was averaging like $574 per month.
That's not horrible.
Mm-mm.
When you get, medical coverage for everybody. I know just, a couple weeks ago, Sage took a big spill and she was seriously injured and we had to take her in, and, kids, man, they always keep you on your toes. It's definitely good to have that coverage just in case.
Yeah, because they are just accident prone. It's like they're not fully agile yet or something.
They're kind of like a mongo.
Yeah, that's not good.
Another thing that we're always talking to our clients about is the traffic in the area. Now, since we're talking about Niceville specifically, Niceville isn't like a huge area, regardless of where you are. If you're going to be staying in Niceville, even if you were traveling to the complete opposite end of it, you're still going to get there in like 10 to 15 minutes. But if you have to leave Niceville, say you need to go to Fort Walton Beach or you need to go to Destin, it's going to take you about 30 minutes. And the reason I bring this up is because of gas prices. So as of today, we're December of 2022, regular gas is about $2.70 per gallon. So kind of factor that in with your travel and your traffic stop go kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be heading out to the beach quite often. Niceville is about 30 minutes to the nearest beach, depending on which side of Niceville you go to. It might be 25 minutes, it might be 35 minutes. But a lot of people do, especially in their first year, go to the beach a lot. So it is something to consider. And of course, if you're living in another city, because maybe Niceville doesn't have the housing prices, as we're going to talk about here in a minute, maybe those housing prices don't match with what you'd like to do, and you're commuting from maybe Crestview or Tefuniak or even Fort Walton Beach, then just expect about a 30-minute commute time. So the last thing before we jump into the housing side of everything is groceries. Now, when we look it up online, it says your average groceries per person in your household in this area should be about $480 per person. I find that to be a little bit high for some people, but that's actually kind of right on par with about what I spend. It's probably closer to like $500 to $600 for me personally, but I also use Instacart, and so it's a little bit more expensive, and then there's tips involved, and I also buy generally organic almost exclusively for all of my meats and veggies and fruits and stuff like that. So mine's a little bit on the higher end. If you're somebody that is purchasing a lot of the stuff in the center aisles, if you will, the little Debbie treats and canned goods and pasta and stuff like that, it'll probably be a lot cheaper for you. In fact, when I used to eat that way, and this was 8 years ago, so prices have changed, if I spent $100 per week on groceries, it was an expensive trip that day. It was generally $80 to $100.
Yeah, there was just maybe not super recently, but maybe like a year ago, because Sage and I, we eat primarily organic, gluten-free as well, so ours kind of matches up to what you were saying with that price point, but it hasn't changed a whole lot, I feel like, just in a year. I think prices have gone up just a little bit, but not incredibly. And we had another team member that caught COVID, and she was home with, I think it was like 4 children. And so I went grocery shopping for her, and I filled up the cart. They don't eat organic, so I was able to fill it up with all kinds of family-sized dinners that they could just, heat and eat really quickly. Everything was all about convenience, so there was a lot of frozen goods and what have you. But I filled that cart up, and I only spent, it was like $120. That's it. If I spend $120 for Sage and I, it's like a quarter of the cart. I still have plenty of space for my purse in the front part and Sage in the back with the groceries and maybe with a bouquet of flowers because we like flowers. So there's a significant difference between purchasing like mostly raw and organic versus, frozen convenience meals that are just regular. So keep that in mind depending on what your diet consists of. Niceville is one of our pricier areas, I would think, along our coast. It's not very big. There's not a whole lot. I don't know. It's just a costlier area. There's water access all over the place. There are tons of boat ramps and stuff. It's very convenient, very easy to get to things. So the cost is a little bit higher. We're looking at an average price about $410,000 for a single family residence, 3-4 bedrooms, nothing crazy, just, a nice house, for your family. And that's going to take you to, if you've got great credit, with today's interest rates, you're probably looking at about a $2,400 a month mortgage payment. That's with a 0 down payment, just in case, our veterans are watching. If you're using your VA loan, you're not going to put any money down potentially. So you're looking at about a $2,400 a month payment, unless you're going with maybe a conventional loan and you want to put that 20% down to avoid PMI, then you're looking at about a $2,000 a month mortgage payment. When we compare these to the rental market, we're seeing around 21 on like the kind of lower end to 2,400 for the same type of properties in the rental market. So you're essentially paying the same as a mortgage, but you don't own it.
Yeah, and this is going to be right in the middle line. So obviously there's a lot that are higher and some that are less as well. So keep that in mind. If you only need a 2-bedroom condo, you can probably get away with a little bit cheaper. In fact, the ones over at the Oaks, I think, are $1,600 to $1,800 for a little 2-bedroom. They're nothing fancy. They've got great amenities. Are right in the middle of town. So you've got some options to play with if that's not in your budget.
Keep in mind, whenever you're applying for these rentals, a lot of them, they're going to have extensive background checks. You're going to need excellent credit. You're going to need essentially 3 months of rent right off the bat. And you're going to have an income showing 3 times the amount that the rent costs. So just keep that in mind, because it hangs up a lot of people, because your DTI to get approved for a mortgage is a little bit more lenient than what's required to rent.
And those of you coming here with pets, please keep in mind that that's another barrier that you will go through. There are a lot of rentals, particularly in Niceville itself, that don't allow rentals with pets. And if they do, you can expect whatever the average rental price to be. Jump that up about $300 to $500 for the most part. Some of them will be lower. Some will be a little bit higher, but because it's such a rarity, the demand for them is much higher, so they're able to get a little bit more money for it. And before we move on to utilities and other things that you might have as far as expenses with your house, I do want to talk about the housing market just a little bit in case you are thinking about moving down here to purchase. Right now in Niceville, it's sitting at 2.95 months of inventory. Call it 3 months of inventory. So what that means is if nobody else put their house on the market, it would take 3 months for all the buyers to come and pick this up. This is still considered a very heavy seller's market. So those of you that are moving and you are looking at prices, and you're thinking, well, the market's going to crash, or whatever weird headlines that you're hearing, we're not seeing any of that data. And it's definitely not true in our area. If it's true somewhere else, which, that's a whole other topic for another time. But my point with this is make sure that when you're looking at prices, you're not looking at a $500,000 home thinking that you're going to get it for $450,000. You can expect about 1% to 2% off the purchase price as of the time of shooting this. So if you're watching this a little bit later in 2023 or something like that, the market may have rebounded, and that might not be the case anymore.
Something that we're seeing just on the team and in general is if a property comes on the market and it's like pristine, maybe it's brand new with tons of upgrades or something like that.
It's just very nice inside. Niceville, get it? Okay, keep going.
Oh my God, you're so lame. It's gone. Like a day, 2 days, just as if you would expect in a super hot market. Now, if it's not as luxurious essentially, then it'll sit a little bit longer. Do you have some more negotiation room as a buyer with those properties? Yeah, a little bit. But should you expect something drastic? Not necessarily. Keep in mind these sellers just still have a net that they have to move. We don't know everybody's individual motivations for moving, but a lot of times there is a bottom line that they have to get. Otherwise, selling leaves them homeless and it doesn't matter. So just keep that in mind, what your negotiation abilities are in this market.
And the average days on market right now is 52 out here in Niceville. So kind of put that into your cross-check whenever you're looking at properties if you are thinking about moving down here. If you're seeing something on the market for 30 days, this isn't the same market it was in early 2022 or 2021 where you look at that and you're like, what's wrong with the house? 30 days, that's crazy. No, the average right now is 52. So just keep that in mind that when you're starting to see those numbers and you see 45 days on market, this doesn't mean that you can knock $100,000 off the asking price. They're going to laugh at you. And we are seeing people actually do this. And the response is exactly what you would think.
Another cost that you'll have to think about whenever you come out here is insurance and taxes on the property. So as everybody knows, insurance companies in Florida are a little volatile, especially with all the hurricanes and such. Immediately following hurricanes or any kind of disasters, we start seeing insurance companies just leave the state, and it has this huge impact on our rates. Sometimes it means people just lose insurance. Immediately they get a notice and it's like, you need to seek insurance elsewhere, and it's kind of a scramble. So keep in mind that that is something that we see occasionally, so make sure you're getting with a reputable insurance provider. And
keep in mind too, if you guys do get dropped on your insurance, it's really not that big of a deal. They give you plenty of notice. It's not like they're dropping you that day, but they do tell you, hey, you've got 30, 45 days. Just make sure you call your real estate professional up, or your favorite insurance person, of course, and have them rerun a quote for you. It's actually been kind of a blessing in disguise because a lot of our clients have been getting better rates rates now that everything from Hurricane Michael, when that hit Panama City next door to us, prices kind of rose over the last like year and a half because of that, and they're now starting to drop. So we're actually saving people a lot of money for this, and we're not having to wait until their 2-year mark, because that's generally when we run, for all of our past clients, we run extra quotes for you, and we send them to you and go, hey, here's where it's at, because you always want to be kind of updating that to make sure that they're not, raising the prices on you too much.
As far as rates that we're seeing, there are so many variables that go into it. Even when I try speaking to different insurance brokers, they're like, we cannot give you a simple algorithm because so many things get taken into consideration, like the age of the home and the larger appliances ages, the age of the roof, and then even the ages of the actual purchaser. And, if you filed claims in the past,
or if the previous person that owned the property filed a claim. A lot of people don't know that actually affects the rate on the house for the following person.
So something that we've seen, or at least I've seen recently, is an older home. Let's say, we're in 2022 right now, almost 2023. So I would say anything in like the early 2000s, you're probably looking close to maybe 1% of the purchase price for your insurance rate. And then anything brand new is significantly lower. So on like a brand new build, say $500,000 property, you're looking at potentially about $1,700 a year. Now, granted, that is going with, the builder's insurance company. So there are some significant rate discounts there, but you can find them if insurance is something that's going to be a big hiccup because you're trying to get, the maximum amount, or you're trying to use your maximum eligibility to purchase, and you want all of that to go towards, a super nice house, but you still want to be covered. So trying to juggle those two numbers to fit into your finances, a brand new build with a builder that can, combine those, bundle those payments, and give you discounts on every area might be a really solid option. Good.
And then, of course, even if you have an older home, but you've got, all the newer stuff on it, windows, wind-rated garage door, roof, all of that good stuff. Those are 3 major ticket items out of like the 7 that they look at on the wind mitigation report. And then there's a whole 4-point as well that's looking at this, that's going to look at stuff like plumbing, your air conditioner, your electrical, and then again, a little bit further into the roof. So if those main component items have been upgraded, you can expect, even on an older home, a much better rate on your insurance. Now, the next thing to consider when purchasing a home is your taxes. And I want to add a couple of things to this. First, most people come to us from different states and they're surprised at how low our taxes are. In fact, I was just talking to an agent buddy of mine out in Houston, Texas, and he was saying that on average, you can see anywhere from about $4,000 a year all the way up to, he's seen as high as $22,000 per year for taxes. Now, that was in a $1 million home, so it wasn't the average price point, but that is still a ridiculous, that's almost $2,000 a month in taxes alone. So we're very fortunate here in that aspect, and then we're fortunate in the aspect that we don't have income tax here either. Luckily, the tourists, they come here and they pay lots of good money. It stimulates our economy, and we don't have to pay for that stuff, and that's also what keeps a lot of our taxes down. If I were to try to put a number on it in Niceville, you can expect about 65 tenths of 1%, so 0.65% of the actual value of the property. I know that's really hard math to do, but we can kind of just do a rough number. If we just use 0.5% and then just add a little bit more to it, so you're looking at a $400,000 home, you can expect about $2,000 to $2,400 in taxes every year. And then, of course, you can homestead it, which is what every one of you guys should be doing if you do move down here. File for homestead as soon as you purchase a home. I know you've got a lot going on, but try to do it early. If you are working with us, all of our information is on the screen real quick. If you are working with us, we'll notify you of this. We'll let you know before the year's up that you should sign up for it. We'll also give you an email with everything in it in January, just in case you forgot, so that you can get it all in. And what homestead does is it says, hey, this is my home state. You do have to change your residency and your driver's license and your vehicle registration as well. Once you do all of those things, you file for homestead. It's going to give you a big tax break on your taxes in general. And there are some additional benefits with the Homestead Exemption Act as well that you might qualify for, like if you're a disabled veteran or a widower or something like that. You can definitely apply for those as well, and you can actually get $0 on your property taxes, which is pretty cool. I mean, not cool of how you got it, but it is a nice little added benefit for your troubles.
On your, typical single family residence, expect, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. You should expect, I don't know, maybe no more than like $500 a month for all your utilities combined. And that's electric, gas, water, sewer, trash, all of it. Under $500.
And a lot of this is going to depend on the type of home, the number of people in your home, and whether or not you have a pool. For instance, with my water bill, as a single person living in a 3-bed, 2-bath house, it generally hovers around $50 to $80 per month until I got a pool home, which, of course, if you're living in the beautiful summers here of Florida, a pool home is extremely enticing. And that's probably why so many homes have pools that you can purchase. So then it goes up a little bit. And so now that I've got a pool home, it generally doesn't exceed about $150 a month. But with a pool, I generally average about $100 to $150 per month, with very rare exceptions of it going higher if I accidentally left the hose running for 3 days straight, which I've done twice. But I have a pool sentry now. So if you guys have a pool, there's a thing called a pool sentry. You'll just plug your hose into it, keep it on all the time, and it'll just measure your pool. And when it gets too low, it just starts throwing water into it. Great investment. It's worth the $80 or whatever it costs to make sure that you don't have a $400 water bill out of nowhere.
For your electric bill in Niceville, for a 1,800 square foot house, you're probably looking at around $150 a month. That's around what mine is for Sage and I. Now, keep in mind, we don't keep the TV on all the time. We're pretty good about turning lights off, but I am kind of bougie when it comes to my comfort, and so I have very strict settings for how cold or warm, like what those boundaries are going to be in my house. I'm not wearing a hoodie in my house unless I just want to, and I'm not going to sweat in my house. So I would not say I'm a moderate person when it comes to my AC, which is where the majority of the cost is going to come from with your electric bill. So even having, strict margins and keeping my house on auto like year round, I don't think I've ever paid more than like $200 a month.
Yeah, same. In fact, I don't think mine ever creeps above like 120 for the most part, but single dude, whatever. And then next up is your sewer and trash. This one's very easy. It averages to I think it's $62.50 a month, like $62.50 a month. They actually do it by quarter out here, and it covers, the 2 different trips that they make out every single week to your house, and those, it's going to be different in every area of town, obviously, because it can't hit them all in the same area. And this also includes your bulk pickup, so if you have some bulk pickup, it's covered. You don't have to pay anything extra for that, obviously.
That part is so nice. Which another free option,
Nice.
Another free option though that I just used recently, and I didn't expect the turnout that I got, but it was pretty amazing. I had a bunch of stuff that I was just purging because I'm about to move into a new house. And so I had a bunch of, decor items, some wall art, some end tables, all kinds of stuff. I mean, even like fake plants. And I just put it all out by the road, all of it. And not even like nicely, but I kept it away from the trash. And I just posted it on a Facebook group, and I was like, this is the address. Here's what's there. Come and get it. No details. It was like one picture. I set this stuff out at like 9:30 at night on like a Wednesday. Thursday morning, I woke up. It was all gone. Every single bit of it. So if you have a bunch of stuff that you're like, I don't need this, I don't want it, I'm just going to set it out, but it's not quite trash, somebody will come and get it.
Yeah, and you don't even need to post it on Facebook. I actually do that all the time. We'll just throw stuff out there. And there are people that drive around with trailers every single morning. You'll see them driving around from like 4 to 6:30 in the morning, and they come by and they pick this stuff up and they actually resell it. They fix it up, make it a little bit nicer, and then resell it. So I've thrown stuff out there all the time. And actually one time I cleaned up my garage maybe like 4 months ago, and I had a bunch of stuff out there, and a guy pulled up while I was throwing it all out and was just rummaging. He didn't even say a word to me. He just started rummaging through it and grabbed a bunch of stuff. And he was like, he kind of gave me that look, like with a little nod, like, am I good? And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're good. Then he just started throwing stuff back there and took off.
Wow. That's awesome. Hey.
Yeah. So you don't even need to pay the trash guys, probably.
So doing some kind of rough math to make things a little bit easier for you. If we go with, the average of everything, and we assume that you need childcare and your health care isn't already provided, you're looking at somewhere around $4,700 a month for everything. This doesn't include your entertainment, but it does include your mortgage with all the escrows, with your property taxes and insurance, assuming you don't have anything negating your property tax needs. This includes your groceries, your utilities, All of it. Bare minimum, around $4,700 a month.
That is, of course, using the average of everything. So, that needle can go left or right and it could swing wildly, right? You can
Significantly.
you could really probably live out here. I mean, people do it all the time in the service industry that aren't making this kind of money. They're making $30,000 to $40,000 a year. And there are people living in Niceville on that. Now, I will say a large majority of people that do have that sort of income are generally going into a different city because the cost of living is a little bit less. And of course, if you want to know any of those, we'll throw a playlist up here of some of the other cost of living in different cities so that you can test those out if Niceville's not for you.
If you're still with us, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and ding the bell so that you get notified every time we do another video. And definitely check out our search options so you can see our other videos, both related to Niceville and the surrounding cities and what there is to do in our area. And we will see y'all at the next one.